You might remember that in the Bible it's documented, in the New Testament it's documented that Jesus, I think, expelled a demon, or was in the process of expelling a demon from somebody who was possessed, and asked the demon its name, and the demon said, "My name is Legion." In other words, I am many. This statement is used by people in the Gurdjieff work anyway, because, as you may or may not know, one of Gurdjieff's big ideas was that we're not one within ourselves, we are many. It's a kind of obvious idea, really. As circumstances change, so your behavior and your mental state changes. Now, this is going to be a short podcast. It's just something to frighten you, maybe. Normally, people are not so aware of that. So, for example, somebody at work might be very, very, very dominant, very commanding, very in charge. And they get home, and maybe they got a very dominant partner, and they become kind of, like this wimpy character, this subservient character. And it's quite possible that they will never see themselves in those two situations and be able to compare it. Why? Because there's nothing within them observing what's going on. So the idea of the observation, and I've talked about observation a lot elsewhere, is to try and get a rounded picture of the many eyes, as Gurdjieff would have it, that manifest within us. Why? Well, so that we get more knowledge about ourselves and are not so prone to being dominated by things that maybe we don't want to be dominated by. However, I just qualify that. So the guy who's dominant at work, for example, maybe if he's doing some kind of observation, you'll see that, and he'll say, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't be so dominant." That is not what we're doing. We're just observing it. And when he gets home, he becomes a wimp, or she becomes a wimp. And the thing is to just observe it, not to say to yourself, "Oh, I need to become more dominant." No, just become conscious of it. And as with this work, it's a kind of judo. Do more of it. Become even more of a wimp. Or at work, become even more dominant. We never resist. We always go with the force of what's ever happening within us. Anyway, that's Gurdjieff's thing. We have many eyes, and these eyes dominate us at various times, and typically a person is wholly unaware of that transition from one kind of eye to another. So one eye may be very sympathetic and caring, and another eye may be totally ruthless and hard, and they never see the difference in behavior. Anyway, I read something very interesting in The Idea of the World by Kastrup. I've got a number of podcasts I want to do on this book, but this is a short one. These days there's a phenomenon known as dissociation. There's a lot of background to it, but I'm not going to that now. The basic idea is that there's one body, your body, and that body may be inhabited by wholly different personalities or egos that don't see each other at all. Now, you might say, well, this is the same as Gurdjieff, but it isn't. It's a more extreme form of it. And it's actually quite a scary thing. There is something now called dissociative identity disorder, And what happens is that one personality rides along within this body for some time, and it has physiological implications for the body. So maybe, and I've got some fairly scary stuff in a moment, but maybe one person, one ego walks in a particular way, and the other ego, and there might be several of them, walks with a limp, maybe. And there's no knowing when the changeover is going to occur from one ego to another. And they're wholly separate. They don't see each other at all. Now, Kastrup reveals a study that was done in Germany of a woman who had a very strong form of this dissociative identity disorder. Some of her egos could see perfectly well. Other egos within her were blind. And people thought, oh, people can just fake this kind of thing. So anyway, they strapped the electrodes to the brain, and I think they did something else as well, which I can't remember. But anyway, the usual thing, to see if there's any activity in the visual cortex for the egos within this woman who could see there was normal activity in the visual cortex. For the egos who said they were blind, so at some point this woman became one of the blind people, there was no activity in the visual cortex. So Gurdjieff's assertion that there are many eyes is more physiologically true than just psychologically true. And in fairness, in the Gurdjieff work, they do put a great deal of emphasis on the body. So somebody who sits in a particular way may well have an ego, an I, that acts in a particular way. And when they sit in a different way, they act in a different way. It's really like we're blind to most of what is going on. And in fact, this person that is speaking to you now, is aware of a particular physiological and psychological configuration and says, oh, me. But the me that has got rabid toothache, the whole set of physiological and psychological stuff going on, is a wholly different person. Now, happily, I don't seem to have dissociative identity disorder, because when I'm in, if I have toothache, I can remember what it's like not to have toothache. But there are people who have multiple personalities within them that are accompanied by multiple physical configurations. Can hear, can't hear. Can see, can't see. So, the scary reality in all of this is that we are, within ourselves, we are much less one thing than we think we are. And it would be interesting to see, and there's no documentation on this, but it would be interesting to see if this woman who has these multiple, they call them alters, multiple alters who can see and can't see, whether she had something within her that was observing, whether she would be able to develop awareness of these separate characters that manifest within her. My sneaky feeling is that she wouldn't, but they haven't done it. And that is even more scary. So the implications of this, a strong form of Gurdjieff's we are many eyes, the strong form of that would say, well, not only do we have no control over anything, we have no control over what of the entity that is within us at any particular moment, and may not actually be aware of the movement from one altar to another altar. So what do you do about all of that? Well, as per usual, nothing. If that's the hand you're dealt, then that's the hand you live with. But as per usual, we're peeling back the layers on the onion and revealing yet even more horrors that life has dealt.